Hi, and welcome to the FoodieGuy.com podcast. Today, we're diving headfirst into a topic that is absolutely foundational for any restaurant's enduring success: menu pricing strategy and, crucially, how it directly impacts profitability. You might initially think it's just about covering your basic ingredient costs, right? But as we'll meticulously unpack from the rich insights provided on FoodieGuy.com, it's far more than simple arithmetic. It's a highly strategic dance, intricately choreographed, that involves everything from the precise cost of a single raw ingredient to the subtle nuances of customer psychology.
It really is. And what's truly fascinating here, and what the FoodieGuy.com really emphasizes, is just how many intricate layers there are to effective, sustainable pricing. It's certainly not just a superficial numbers game. It's profoundly about understanding and shaping perceived value and truly grasping the dynamics of your specific market. Throughout this deep dive, we'll be exploring the critical elements that restaurateurs, surprisingly often, tend to overlook. We'll delve into the foundational formulas they should be diligently applying, and then uncover some incredibly clever psychological tactics that, when used wisely, can ensure those restaurateurs not only stay open, but that the business truly thrives.
Okay, let's unpack this deep dive, drawing directly from the wealth of information on the FoodieGuy.com. Because mastering these principles truly is a shortcut to being exceptionally well-informed about the complex financial backbone of the entire food and beverage industry. It's about seeing beyond the menu price to the strategic decisions beneath. So we're going to kick things off by addressing a surprisingly common, yet incredibly damaging pitfall that the FoodieGuy.com highlights: the critical failure to include all associated costs when establishing prices for menu items. It sounds almost unbelievably basic, doesn't it? Like, surely everyone just adds up what it costs. But this seemingly simple oversight is a pervasive mistake that can silently and relentlessly erode a restaurant's profits, meticulously chipping away at its financial health until the damage becomes almost irreversible. The core problem, as the FoodieGuy.com astutely points out, is that many operators and chefs tend to focus predominantly and sometimes exclusively on just the raw cost of the product.
They might think, this beautiful cut of steak cost me $12, so if I sell it for $36, that's a healthy 300% markup, a good profit. But that calculation, while tempting in its simplicity, is dangerously simplistic and fundamentally flawed for long-term viability.
Exactly. That initial thought process entirely misses the forest for the trees. The critical omission, which the FoodieGuy.com vehemently emphasizes, is that all costs associated with getting the plate to the table must be meticulously included in your calculations. This isn't just a best practice, it is an absolute non-negotiable necessity for accurate pricing. So what exactly are these often missed specifics that need to be factored in? Of course, you have the most obvious: the raw cost of the product, the actual ingredients themselves, like that prime steak, the accompanying potatoes, the seasonal vegetables, and even the smallest garnish or a pinch of finishing salt. But then you absolutely must factor in labor. This extends far beyond just the head chef's salary. It includes a proportionate share of the line cooks, the prep cooks, the dishwashers, and even a fraction of the front of house staff's wages for the time and effort spent delivering and presenting that specific plate. And then, perhaps the most frequently overlooked and cumulatively impactful category: all other direct costs.
All other direct costs. Okay, that phrase sounds deceptively simple, but it sounds like that's where many restaurants bleed profit. What exactly falls into that category, beyond the obvious?
This is where the deep dive truly begins, because these other direct costs are the hidden expenses that contribute significantly to the final cost of a dish. I mean, think about it. It's the energy consumed by the grill or oven to cook that specific steak, the water used to wash the pan and prep the vegetables, the wear and tear on the knives, cutting boards, and cooking utensils. But it goes even further. It's a portion of the cleaning supplies for the kitchen, the cost of the disposable gloves used by the cooks, the very small wares that might break or be replaced. Consider the cost of packaging for a takeout order, the menu paper it's printed on, or even the small slice of a software licensing fee for your point-of-sale system that tracks ingredients and sales. Each of these might seem minuscule on their own, perhaps pennies or even fractions of a penny per dish.
Just tiny amounts.
Exactly, tiny amounts. But when you multiply that across hundreds or thousands of dishes sold daily or weekly, these invisible costs become a substantial financial drain. Overlooking them means you're operating with an inflated sense of your profit margin right from the start. You think you're making more than you actually are.
Wow. Okay, so if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really underscores why these seemingly small omissions are so critical. The food and beverage industry operates on notoriously tighter margins compared to almost any other sector. You hear that all the time. TheFoodieGuide.com specifically points out an ideal food cost percentage typically hovers around a slim 25–30%. This immediately raises an important question for you, the listener. Why are these margins so incredibly tight, and what does that mean for how meticulously a restaurant must approach pricing?
Well, it means that every single dollar, every single penny, every ingredient, and every minute of labor truly counts. It matters so much more. Unlike, for example, a software company that might enjoy generous 80% profit margins, restaurants are dealing with highly perishable goods which come with inherent waste and spoilage. That's a given. They have incredibly intensive labor requirements, not just in the kitchen, but across the entire operation. Front of house, back of house. There are consistently high utility costs for everything from cooking and refrigeration to heating and cooling a dining space, and significant overheads in terms of rent, insurance, and equipment maintenance. It's a constant outflow. So when your target profit margin is already razor thin, as it is in the restaurant industry, any oversight in meticulously costing a single dish is immediately magnified across your entire operation. If a restaurant consistently operates above that 25–30% benchmark for food cost, it means a disproportionately larger portion of its revenue is being consumed by ingredients, just eaten up by food costs.
Right, leaving less for everything else.
Exactly. Less for labor, less for rent, less for marketing, and most critically, less for the actual profit that sustains and grows the business. This phenomenon can swiftly lead to a situation where a restaurant is bustling, seemingly busy, maybe packed every night, yet paradoxically, it's not actually making any money. It's a widely recognized and painful industry reality, often referred to as busy bankrupt.
Wow, busy bankrupt. That's quite a phrase.
It really is. It effectively means that despite high customer traffic and robust sales, the business is continually struggling to stay afloat, living month to month or even week to week without truly generating sufficient returns. This meticulous accounting we're talking about makes the profound difference between a thriving, sustainable business and one constantly teetering on the edge of failure.
Okay, so the costs are foundational. But then here's where it gets really interesting for you, the customer. According to TheFoodieGuide.com, the paramount importance of the value proposition. As a diner, you must unequivocally feel that there is tangible, justifiable value in the goods or services you are receiving and, of course, ultimately paying for. And this definition of value isn't simply about the numerical price tag you see on the menu. It's a deeply personal, often subconscious, and highly subjective assessment of the perceived benefit you gain versus the actual cost you incur. I mean, think about your own dining experiences for a moment. A $60 prime cut of steak, perfectly cooked medium rare, served by an attentive waitstaff in a beautifully ambient setting, can genuinely feel like an absolute steal, right? A truly memorable experience. Conversely, a seemingly inexpensive $18 burger can leave you feeling completely ripped off if it's bland, poorly presented, and delivered with indifferent service. The price point alone isn't the sole arbiter of value.
That's spot on. And TheFoodieGuide.com specifically references quality in service or food as absolutely integral to creating that perceived value. High quality doesn't just provide a reason to justify a higher price, it fundamentally builds trust, enhances the dining experience, and significantly encourages repeat business. That's huge. When a dish is crafted with premium, thoughtfully sourced ingredients, expertly prepared with skill and care, and then served with genuine warmth and attentiveness, the customer inherently sees and feels that extra effort. They understand, often instinctively, why they are paying what they are paying, even if they can't articulate every single factor. It just feels right. On the flip side, a discernible lack of quality, whether in the food itself or the accompanying service, even when paired with a very low price point, can completely undermine any potential value perception.
Right, a bad experience is a bad experience, no matter the cost.
Exactly. If the food is subpar, inconsistent, or the service is poor, no amount of discounting will make the customer feel like they got a good deal. In fact, it often leaves them feeling worse because they spent their hard-earned money and precious time on a thoroughly disappointing experience. So, as you reflect on your own dining journeys, truly consider: when have you walked away feeling that you received exceptional value, and what specific elements, the food, the atmosphere, the service, contributed most to that feeling? And conversely, when have you left a restaurant feeling genuinely ripped off, even if the price seemed ostensibly low? Often the answer lies in that delicate yet crucial balance between tangible quality and the holistic experience.
Okay, so if we're now diligently including all these costs, not just the immediate raw ingredients, but also the allocated labor and all those crucial other direct costs, how do we practically apply that comprehensive understanding to actually arrive at a selling price for each menu item? TheFoodieGuide.com provides what it calls an ideal food cost pricing formula. Let's break it down, as this truly is a foundational piece of the entire profitability puzzle. The formula, as specifically stated by thefoodieguy.com, is raw food cost of item and other costs, plus desired food cost percentage, price. Now that phrasing, especially with the addition symbol, might look a little unconventional to those familiar with standard industry costing. It seems simple. Can you walk us through how we should interpret desired food cost percentage here to accurately apply it in practice?
That's a really important distinction, and yeah, it highlights a common area of confusion. It's how it's written there. While thefoodieguy.com presents the formula with that addition symbol, implying a direct summing, in standard restaurant accounting, when we talk about a desired food cost percentage, we're almost always referring to a percentage of the final selling price. So to calculate that final price based on a desired food cost percentage, the operation is actually division, not addition. It's key to get that right. Let's clarify. The raw food cost of item and other costs forms your total direct cost for producing that dish. This sum includes your ingredients, the specific portion of labor for that dish, and all those other direct costs we just discussed, the utilities, cleaning, small wares, and so on.
Right, the total cost to actually make and serve that dish.
Exactly. Let's call that total direct cost C. Now, your desired food cost percentage, let's call it FCP, is the percentage of your selling price P that you want C to represent. So the actual calculation to find your selling price P is P equals C FCP, expressed as a decimal. So the foodieguy.com's formula, while perhaps a simplified way of expressing the components that go into determining a price, is effectively guiding you towards the goal of achieving that desired food cost percentage through careful consideration of all costs. It's more of a conceptual framework leading to the calculation rather than a literal mathematical equation as presented with the plus sign. Does that make sense?
Yes, okay. So the formula is like a reminder. Costs plus your target percentage goal, the price you need to figure out using division.
Got it.
That makes perfect sense for practical application. So let's solidify this with a concrete example, incorporating all the elements we've discussed. Imagine we're costing out a signature pasta dish at a restaurant.
Absolutely. Let's say after meticulously tracking every single component, we determine the raw food cost of item and other costs for our signature pasta dish is $3. And this $3 isn't just the pasta, the sauce, and the Parmesan. It includes, for instance, ingredients. Maybe $1.80 for the pasta, tomatoes, basil, garlic, olive oil, cheese. Labor, say $1.70, a portion of the prep cook's time, the line cook's cooking time, and even the plating time. Other direct costs, let's allocate $1.50. This would encompass a fraction of the gas used for the stove, the water for boiling, the cleaning supplies for the pots, maybe even the cost of the disposable containers if it's a takeout option, and the wear on the serving bowl.
Okay, $3 total direct cost.
Right. Now, thefoodieguy.com mentioned that an ideal food cost percentage typically hovers around 25-30% for the industry. Let's say for our signature pasta, we aim for a 30% food cost percentage to ensure healthy margins. That's our goal, our FCP. Applying the industry standard calculation based on thefoodieguy.com's guiding principles, you would take your total cost, $3, and divide it by your desired food cost percentage as a decimal, 0.30. So $3 divided by 0.30 equals $10.
$10. That's the selling price.
That's your base selling price. This ensures that the $3 cost truly represents 30% of your $10 selling price, leaving the remaining 70%, or $7 in this case, to cover all your other crucial operating expenses like rent, marketing, administrative costs, and crucially, your profit. And this percentage, the 25-30%, it's a strategic number. It's not a universal constant, but a target for the business. It's determined by factors like the type of restaurant. Fine dining might aim for a lower food cost percentage, say 20-25%, because labor and ambiance costs are higher. Fast casual might accept 30-35% due to lower labor overhead. Its desired profit margins and its market positioning. It's the business's internal guide to financial health for each individual item.
So what does this all mean? Okay, this carefully calculated base price, derived from the framework on thefoodieguy.com, is your crucial starting point. It's a robust way to ensure your basic internal costs are covered and that you're strategically aiming for that healthy 25-30% food cost percentage, setting a baseline for potential profitability. But, as you alluded to earlier, that's just the internal reality. It doesn't tell you if that price is what your customers are actually willing to pay or what your competitors are charging right down the street. It's not the only factor in the dynamic world of restaurant pricing, is it?
Absolutely not even close. This calculation gives you a theoretically perfect internal price, but it exists in a vacuum. It's just numbers on a spreadsheet at this point. This raises an important question for any astute restaurateur. Once you have your baseline price, meticulously derived from all your costs, how do you refine it to be competitive, truly attractive to your target diners, and ultimately maximally profitable in the real, often unpredictable market? TheFoodieGuy.com astutely highlights other factors you must look at when putting together your pricing strategy. These are the external dynamics, the market forces, and the subtle psychological levers where a true pricing strategy truly meets the customer and the competition. Ignoring these external other factors means you might have a perfectly costed dish that no one buys because it's significantly overpriced compared to similar offerings.
Or the opposite, right.
Or, perhaps even worse, one that flies off the shelves but isn't contributing nearly enough to your bottom line because you didn't factor in its actual market demand or what people would pay. So, while the formula defines your internal financial reality, these additional factors are your guide to navigating the external marketplace effectively.
Okay, let's shift our focus now to these absolutely essential other factors from thefoodieguide.com that are crucial for refining your pricing strategy beyond just the internal cost calculations. First up, competition pricing. This might seem like an obvious point, but its strategic importance is often profoundly underestimated. You have to know what the guy next door is doing. Competition pricing is, quite simply, understanding and analyzing what other establishments in your immediate market, those serving a similar cuisine or targeting a similar demographic, are charging for comparable menu items. You simply cannot operate your business in a vacuum and expect to thrive. For example, if you're offering a gourmet burger for $28, but the two incredibly popular, highly rated spots just a few blocks away are selling equally delicious, similarly sized gourmet burgers for $19, you're going to face a significant uphill battle convincing customers to pay your premium. Unless, of course, you offer something so extraordinarily unique or an experience so elevated that it fully justifies that substantial price difference. That's a big unless.
Indeed. And thefoodieguy.com emphasizes that in today's data-rich environment, this isn't just about a quick glance at a competitor's online menu anymore. It's much deeper. There are now several companies that will provide this data together with analytics that will also help determine your menu profitability at different price points. These services go far beyond simple price checks. They can offer incredibly granular data, average prices for specific dish types within your precise zip code or neighborhood, historical pricing trends, insights into what price points lead to the highest sales volume for similar items in your area, and even competitive intelligence on promotional strategies. Restaurants might also engage in discrete mystery shopping, sending staff to experience and analyze competitors' offerings, service, and pricing firsthand.
Secret shoppers.
Exactly. The strategic value of this information is immense. It helps you deftly navigate the fine line between two critical errors. Pricing too high, which risks alienating your potential customer base and driving them directly to your competitors, or pricing too low, which not only leaves valuable profit on the table, but can also, ironically, undermine the perceived quality and value of your offerings. People sometimes equate low price with low quality. It's about finding that strategic sweet spot in the market, a price point that positions you competitively, sends the appropriate quality signals, and ultimately maximizes your revenue and market share.
As a diner, thinking about this, how does knowing competitor pricing affect our choices? I imagine it's a subconscious weighing of options every time we decide where to eat. We might not even realize we're doing it.
Absolutely. For you, the listener, as a diner, understanding competitor pricing subtly but consistently influences your choices every single time you consider dining out. If you know a local spot offers consistently good value and quality at a certain price point, it strongly influences your decision-making when a new option emerges. You have a benchmark. If a new restaurant opens its doors with prices significantly exceeding its well-established peers without a clear differentiating factor, you immediately, and quite rightly, begin to question the overall value proposition. You think, why is this so much more? This data-driven strategic approach for restaurants isn't about mere copying. It's about making informed decisions to stand out or at least strategically fit in within a competitive landscape.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what's fascinating here is how competitor pricing intersects so directly with the next crucial factor. TheFoodieGuy.com highlights demand-driven pricing. While knowing what your rivals are charging is undeniably essential, it's really just one piece of a much larger, more dynamic puzzle. Demand-driven pricing truly comes into its own when you have menu items that are exceptionally popular, unique, or frankly just highly coveted within your specific market. The core concept is wonderfully straightforward. If a particular dish or even a specific ingredient is in high demand, TheFoodieGuy.com notes that your patrons will be willing to pay a premium for the menu items. This is the exciting area where a restaurant can potentially break away from strict competitor matching and really capitalize on its unique offerings.
Precisely. So the key becomes, how does a restaurant effectively identify these high-demand items? It requires a keen eye on a multitude of indicators. What's currently trending on social media? What are local food critics or influencers raving about? What seasonal ingredients are creating buzz? Or perhaps what unique culinary creation has organically become your restaurant's signature must-try dish, that thing everyone talks about. Internally, robust point-of-sale, POS data, is invaluable. Which items are flying out of the kitchen fastest, which ones are consistently reordered, which generate the most positive feedback and word of mouth. The psychology behind customers' willingness to pay a premium for these items is multifaceted. It could be perceived scarcity, for instance, a limited-time seasonal dish featuring rare, high-quality ingredients like white truffles. People want what they can't always have.
Right, the FOMO effect, fear of missing out.
Yeah, exactly. It might be exclusivity if your establishment is the only one offering an authentic, expertly crafted version of a regional delicacy or an innovative fusion dish no one else has. It could also stem from the unique, memorable experience associated with a dish, perhaps a dramatic tableside preparation, or an extraordinary Instagram-worthy presentation. People pay for the show sometimes. Or, quite simply, it could just be fulfilling a strong, deeply felt desire for that specific item that the market just can't get enough of. This is precisely where a restaurant can genuinely differentiate itself and command a higher price point.
So if your unique, high-demand lobster bisque is consistently selling out every night, you might actually be underpricing it. The market is effectively telling you it wants more, and it's willing to pay for that experience. Does this mean you can charge significantly more than competitors if demand is high enough?
Absolutely, within reason, of course, but yes. The connection between demand and pricing is incredibly crucial. If your signature dish, let's say a slow-braised short rib with a unique local spice rub, is consistently sold out by 8 p.m. every night and garners rave reviews, you're likely underpricing it. You're leaving money on the table. The market is clearly signaling that it not only desires more of that dish, but is also implicitly willing to pay a premium for it. The challenge lies in balancing this premium with the overall perception of value, ensuring that even at a higher price, the customer still feels they are receiving something exceptionally special and worthwhile. You don't want to seem greedy. This doesn't mean you entirely disregard your foundational cost formula or completely ignore your competitors. Rather, it allows for a more flexible and ultimately more profitable pricing strategy for those standout high-demand items that truly set your restaurant apart. It's about recognizing and capitalizing on your unique strengths within the market.
Okay, this makes a lot of sense. Cost first, then competition, then demand. But here's where it gets really interesting, delving into a bit of human psychology that thefoodieguy.com highlights. Left-digit effect pricing rounding to the nines, a tactic also very commonly referred to as odd pricing. This is a profoundly clever, subtle strategy that's been a staple in retail for decades, and it absolutely applies with potent effect to restaurant menus. It's a final, often unconscious step in the overall pricing strategy. The method itself is delightfully simple, pricing menu items to end with a 9 or a 99. For example, listing a perfectly crafted avocado toast at $12.99 instead of around $13, or perhaps a special tasting menu at $79.95 instead of a clean $80. The primary purpose, as thefoodieguy.com clearly states, is a way to instill perceived value to your customers. But the deeper question is, why does this seemingly tiny difference, often just a single penny or nickel, work so effectively? It feels like we should all know better by now, right? But it all boils down to a fascinating and deeply ingrained psychological bias known as the left-digit effect. Our brains are incredibly efficient, constantly seeking shortcuts. And when we quickly scan numbers, we tend to fixate and place disproportionately more weight on the leftmost digit. So when your eye catches $12.99, your brain rapidly processes the 12 and anchors it as 12-something, making it feel significantly cheaper than 13-something, even though the actual monetary difference is negligible. That 1 penny effectively shifts the entire cognitive anchor for the price in your mind.
It's remarkably potent, even when we know it's happening. This psychological trick subtly suggests a bargain, a careful calculation, or at the very least, that the restaurant has meticulously considered the lowest possible price point to offer you value. It feels less arbitrary. It nudges you, the customer, towards feeling like you're getting a deal, or that the price has been optimized specifically for your benefit. You literally see this psychological tactic everywhere, not just in restaurants. From clothing stores pricing jeans at $39.99 to electronics at 999 cents to gas stations listing fuel at 3.499 cents, it's ubiquitous. The application of this, as the foodieguy.com implies, is often a final step in the pricing strategy, applied after you've thoroughly calculated your costs, objectively considered your competitors' pricing, and carefully factored in market demand. It's a nuanced tweak, a subtle psychological nudge that can significantly influence perception and encourage purchase without meaningfully impacting the restaurant's actual bottom line. It's an incredibly clever way to tap into our subconscious biases as consumers.
This raises an important question, though. In our increasingly sophisticated consumer market, does this odd pricing tactic still hold up? Or is it so ubiquitous that it's almost expected, potentially losing its effectiveness? Are we wise to it?
That's a critical point to consider, and the answer is, it depends. On one hand, the left digit effect is a deeply ingrained cognitive bias, a fundamental shortcut our brains take. Even highly aware consumers can still be subtly influenced by it because our brains are wired for efficiency over absolute precision in many quick decisions. We see a 3 and it registers as cheaper than a 4 almost instinctively. However, the context is absolutely paramount, and this is where the foodieguide.com's overall strategy becomes vital. In certain environments, particularly higher-end luxury or fine dining establishments, using 99 cents or 95 cents pricing can actually backfire spectacularly.
Yeah, I can see that.
Right. It can inadvertently cheapen the perceived quality or exclusivity of the entire dining experience. Imagine for a moment a Michelin-starred restaurant pricing a meticulously crafted tasting menu at $249.99. It would likely feel jarring, incongruous with the bespoke luxury, artistry, and craftsmanship they are striving to convey. It might suggest a more mass-market, budget-conscious approach rather than a premium, curated experience. It sends the wrong signal. So, while odd pricing remains a powerful tool for instilling perceived value in many settings, a restaurant must carefully, critically consider its specific brand identity, its target audience, and the overall desired perception of its offerings before applying the psychological strategy. It's about ensuring the psychological tactic aligns perfectly with the overarching value proposition and the brand's unique message, rather than undermining it. Use it wisely.
Okay, so putting it all together, what does this all mean for you, the restaurant owner, diligently trying to set prices for your delectable menu, and for us, the discerning diners, attempting to understand the intricate thought processes behind the numbers we see on every menu? TheFoodieGuy.com expertly wraps it all up with a final word on comprehensive pricing, pulling all these threads together into a powerful, actionable conclusion.
Yes, if we connect this to the much bigger picture, what thefoodieguy.com is truly advocating for is an absolutely holistic, multifaceted approach to menu pricing. It's never, ever just about one isolated factor. It's a dynamic, intricate interplay of many, all working in concert. It's a system. As thefoodieguy.com unequivocally states, when menu pricing, you have to make sure you are covering all your costs. This, unequivocally, is the non-negotiable baseline, the absolute bedrock foundation upon which all other pricing decisions are meticulously built. We keep coming back to this because it's that important. To reiterate, this means going far beyond just the raw product cost and meticulously including every sliver of labor, not just direct cooking time, but also prep work, the artistic plating, and even a precise fraction of service time and all those other crucial direct costs we detailed, from utilities directly related to a dish's preparation, to the cleaning supplies for the kitchen, the small wares that inevitably wear out or break, and even the marketing costs associated with promoting that specific dish.
Everything has to be in there.
Everything. Ignoring any of these expenses is akin to attempting to construct a house without a truly solid foundation. It might appear to stand proudly for a while, but inevitably it will buckle and crumble under sustained pressure. This comprehensive, almost granular cost accounting is what fundamentally ensures that every single item sold is, at the very least, contributing positively to the overall financial health of the business, rather than silently, insidiously draining its precious resources.
And beyond just the absolute critical step of covering all costs, thefoodieguy.com emphasizes two more incredibly crucial points for sustained success. First, that your overall menu pricing is well balanced, and second, that there is an effective customer value proposition. Let's really dive into what constitutes a well-balanced menu. It's far more nuanced than simply pricing individual items correctly. It's about how the entire menu functions as a cohesive symphony of options, price points, and strategic intentions. It's the whole picture.
Exactly. Think of it in terms of menu engineering. A truly balanced menu strategically guides your customers through their choices while maximizing your profitability. It's not accidental. You need appetizers that feel like an inviting, accessible entry point, enticing diners without overcommitting. Entrees should range from accessible, everyday options to more aspirational, special occasion dishes. Give people choices at different levels. Desserts and drinks, often overlooked, should offer excellent margins while still being enticing and perceived as good value. Those can be real profit drivers. A balanced menu might strategically deploy what's known as a loss leader, a particular item, perhaps a popular happy hour special, or a well-known pasta dish that is priced very competitively, even below its ideal profit margin.
You get people in the door.
Precisely. With the explicit goal of drawing customers into the restaurant, knowing they are highly likely to then order higher margin items like additional drinks, side dishes, or desserts.
That's a brilliant strategy, using one item to pull guests in, trusting they'll spend more once they're there. It's not just about individual dishes then, but the entire narrative the menu creates.
Precisely. The goal is that when you, the customer, examine the menu as a whole, it doesn't feel like a series of disjointed numbers. Instead, it should feel like a thoughtfully curated experience where every price makes inherent sense in relation to the others, to the overall brand identity, and to the dining occasion. It should feel intentional. It's a subtle art. And then we revisit that effective customer value proposition, which is truly the ultimate overarching goal. All the intricate strategies we've meticulously discussed today, from the granular cost calculation to the astute analysis of what competitors are doing, to the deep understanding of market demand, and even the clever psychological tricks like nines, pricing, all of these converge and funnel into one central objective: making you, the customer, feel that you are receiving good, perhaps even exceptional value for your hard-earned money. It's fundamentally about building trust, delivering consistent quality, creating a memorable experience, and fostering the perception that the price you pay is fair, justified, and ultimately rewarding for what is delivered. When a restaurant genuinely nails this delicate balance, they don't just sell dishes. They cultivate deep loyalty, create enthusiastic, raving fans, and build a sustainable business where customers truly understand and appreciate the immense effort and thoughtful strategy behind every single price on that menu.
This raises an important, ongoing question for any restaurant aspiring to thrive for years to come. How does a restaurant continuously assess and proactively adapt its pricing strategy in such a dynamic, ever-changing market? It's clearly not a one-time task that you simply set and then forget, is it? Seems like it would have to be constant.
Absolutely not. It's an ongoing, iterative process, a living strategy that demands constant vigilance and responsiveness. You can't set it and forget it. This involves diligently reviewing ingredient costs on a regular basis, which, as we know, can fluctuate wildly due to supply chain disruptions, seasonality, geopolitical events, or even unexpected weather patterns. Prices change constantly. It means keeping a very close eye on labor costs, minimum wage changes, and staff retention strategies. That's a huge variable. And crucially, it requires continuous, active market research. Are new competitors emerging in your vicinity? Are customer preferences subtly shifting towards different cuisines or dining styles? Are new food trends creating unexpected demand for certain dishes or ingredients? You have to keep your finger on the pulse. Restaurants might employ sophisticated A/B testing on menu items, gather in-depth customer feedback through surveys or direct conversations, and utilize advanced analytics tools, often integrated with their POS systems, to meticulously monitor sales performance at different price points.
So using data to make adjustments.
Constantly. Adapting also means having the courage to strategically raise prices when absolutely necessary due to persistent rising costs, which is never popular but sometimes essential, or, conversely, to adjust them downward if demand significantly wanes or if competition intensifies dramatically. It's a continuous, cyclical effort of rigorous analysis, strategic adjustment, and frequent reevaluation to perpetually maintain that delicate yet crucial balance of profitability for the business and compelling perceived value for the customer. It never really stops.
Wow. Okay, so the next time you're looking at a restaurant menu, truly consider not just the price you see, but the hidden, intricate layers of strategy behind every single number. From the precise, meticulous cost of every ingredient and the dedicated labor to lovingly prepare it, to what the place next door is charging for a similar dish, and even the subtle psychological influence of that 99 cents at the very end of a price tag. Which menu item do you think consistently offers you the best value? And which one might be smartly capitalizing on high demand, allowing the restaurant to confidently charge a premium? It really does change how you read the menu, doesn't it? It gives you a new perspective.
It really does. And what's truly fascinating here is the sheer amount of strategic thought, careful calculation, and nuanced psychology that goes into every single number you see on that menu. It's not just pulled out of thin air. It's a constant demanding effort to perfectly balance profitability for the business, perceived value for you, the customer, and the ever-shifting dynamics of the competitive market. This deep dive, drawing from the foodieguide.com's insights, should now invite you to look at every dining experience with entirely new, much more informed eyes, truly appreciating the complex financial and psychological engineering that underpins every price point.
I hope this short podcast was helpful. For your convenience, this podcast is also available in Spanish. Please join the hundreds of listeners in over 11 countries by following the foodie-guide.com podcast on iHeartRadio, YouTube, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and most other podcast platforms. Also visit our blog at thefoodie-guide.com for much more content and resources. Thanks for listening.